big story from the week was the wildcard round possibility. And I know everybody's got a thought on it. Mr. Dillon coming in as they had the meetings down at Werribee with all the CEO presidents down the mansion there and floated some ideas. So one was which is what Hutch has been pushing for forever, but then he's got a bit of a compromise media reasons for this, where 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th would play off in the bye week leading into the finals for a wild card.
Can I just make a comment before we go into that? So the AFL invites 18 CEOs and then takes them to Werribee?
Yeah.
Like Werribee? What? Are you joking?
To be fair, the Noosa Surf Club was booked out, so that was the second best option.
Werribee
Just bring it to my house in Footscray. Like, what's the difference?
I think some of them might have been on Zoom.
Presidents in America, right? Whenever they come in, they're like, I'm in charge. I need to make something that they know that I've done this. In the AFL, Gillon McLachlan, 666 rule, came in, did his stuff. Every bloody time we get a new CEO, new president, everything's like, I'm going to put my stamp on it. I'm going to try and change it. Just leave the bloody game alone. We don't need to do wild card rounds. Top 8 gets in. It's been the same way for, 100 years?
No. Top 8 since, 94, I think. Yeah.
Just keep it the way it is. You don't need to change things just because you can.
It's a case of why do we need over 50% of teams making the finals outside of 1 week, and they're saying it's because there's going to be a gap. Well, there's two things: either get rid of the 5 between the regular season and the finals, if that's the problem, or you've got the AFLW kicking off that week, and it's meant to be invest in that, guys. If you want the big marquee, you've actually got options there, and that's the whole idea of the bye weekend. The ladies start, they get fresh air, move into their season. But no, let's take away from that and put 7th versus 10th. The other idea that they've been suggesting, which I believe Dylan's really big on, is this whole everyone plays each other once, 17 rounds, and then we get the redrafting of the fixture 6-6-6. So if you're in the top 6 already, you've already made it, and then you guys play each other for ladder positions. 7th to 12th play each other, and then they're playing off for that 7th and 8th spot. And effectively, the last 5 rounds for 13th to 18th, you're literally just playing for draft positions.
Look,
but that's tanking.
I think teams will exploit it a little bit.
No, so I think it'll be the other way around.
13th would get the number 1 pick.
Potentially.
No, that's crap.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry. No, that's disgraceful.
Because what else are you playing for?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sorry, North, you finished second last. You get pick 5.
And
what?
And would you imagine being 13th, in the stage like this ladder, where the ladder's so close? Okay, that's a 17 season.
Who is
17
13th,
games?
by the way? Is it Gold Coast? Because I know Sydney's 14th.
Our man Toddy will be on that. Do the players really want to be going out there for 5 rounds, not playing for absolutely anything in that pool? All I'm doing is playing for a draft pick who's going to come in and take one of my mate's spots. Yeah.
13th is the Suns, and they're it's a lot, but they're 20% behind the Crows. But, they've won the same amount of games, so are they really any worse?
Yeah, come on.
And then the other problem with that, with that system they want to bring in, we're missing the showdown games. The whole idea they like the 22 fixture is so you can have the showdown, the derby, Collingwood Essendon, and those sort of games played twice. And that removes that whole commercial side to it, which is going to affect clubs, because you might have a situation where your top 6 one day is GWS, Gold Coast, and then all of a sudden your return games, just because that's the ladder and whatever, that's how they want to do it. But then you can also have talking about, these games are going to be more meaningful to watch. What's going to happen then if, let's just say, the bottom 6 are then Gold Coast, North Melbourne, GWS? Who's going to care about that coming on the run home if you guys, all your North Melbourne are playing on the run home, is those teams 5 weeks in a row? No one's turning up.
I guess it's kind of giving you a chance. Okay, I'm there. Maybe we can't beat all the top teams, but at least we can have a few wins before the season's finished. I guess that's kind of the idea. What do you reckon, Todd?
It's just stupid. It's just the AFL. As you said,
just ended your point there.
No, I love it. That's all.
Great,
With an exclamation mark. Thanks for coming on.
No, go for it.
No, it's obviously you have your 22 game competition, and obviously when it first came around, there were 12 teams. So you played each other twice. It was perfect. Then you brought in more teams. And now we're at 18 teams. We want to get to 20 teams. I don't know where it stops. I know we're talking about possible 2 tiers, but that's just... The AFL won't do that because it never wants to live in a world where Adelaide doesn't play Port Adelaide in a year, because it can't happen.
They've talked about that, about having the the two divisions and with the wild card and everything, where you might have the east side and the west side, so you can still keep your derbies together, and it might be West Coast, Freo, Adelaide, Port put in with like.
I think if we had like 100 million people in Australia. And you had enough population to do that on both sides, then you could. But nah.
Yeah, so there's all this. They've floated out like 6, 9, and you play each other like twice in that sort of scenario. I've been always big on that whole 24 team, but the promotion relegation. But again, as you said, you could have a situation where Adelaide, West Coast, Collingwood are in the top division, Essendon, Port Adelaide and Freo are in the bottom, and they don't play each other twice. But then that's the outside of playing a 34-round season and soon to be with the 18 teams. Yeah, the only fair, if you want a fair draw, it's everyone play each other twice. So that's where the 12 team. You play your 11 home, 11 away is the only way they can potentially do it.
The AFL's obsession with 666. I mean, it sort of works in the footy, but there was an incident on the weekend in the Carlton Port game where...
Oh, but they didn't have a winger.
Yeah, Port, and the umpire, the Carlton player's like, umpire, and he just doesn't even pay attention. Like, what do you think the Carlton player was trying to get an advantage for there? But going back to the draw...
Jack Silvani is a bit tired, so if we can get that 3 extra seconds, we're going to get that.
But if you go back to the 666 thing, obviously, we don't like to talk about the influence that umpires do have on games because it's there. Imagine it'd be round 16 or round 17, so you played everybody once, and you lose the game because of a dodgy umpiring decision, and suddenly you can't even finish first, but you could lose a few games on the run home and you miss the finals. Yeah. So you could go from 5th to just not playing for the premiership because of one decision.
Yeah, but, I understand where you're coming from with the umpiring thing, but if you've got 2 hours of footy, the cynic in me just says we'll be further in front before the decision happens. I know that's
No, that's fair.
Can I play devil's advocate? Sorry, just quickly with the current fixture.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd say that sentence in a microphone, but the fixture is now. So the club that's kind of being used as the scapegoat right now is Essendon. Essendon play North and West Coast twice, and they could finish 7th to get a final spot. Do they deserve it? But yes, they were crap last year and got the easier fixture. That's literally how it works. This is what the AFL wanted. If you're bad, you get easier games and you'll be able to get up the ladder. So clubs, I don't know why I'm sorry for all the North. So the same clubs aren't down the bottom. That's happened this year and all of a sudden we're going to change it.
Essendon play West Coast and North Melbourne one more time than Carlton do because we get West Coast twice. This is the second time we played them this week. We beat them by 20 goals last time. We'll probably beat them by that again.
The only part I like about this whole thing is play each other once before you play another team twice.
I'm with you.
Because we haven't played North yet. We're playing Hawthorn for the first time. Other clubs have played those teams twice.
We don't play Collingwood till
that's right.
21,
so play the first 17 and then do they always used to do. And then go from there and have the reverse games.
I'm happy if they want to go 1 versus 2 or, do kind of the opposites, 1 versus 18, and then you do the thing up all the way. So middle of the season or towards the end, everyone's played each other once and then do your double up games after. You don't have to change everything around too much, but first 18 weeks you're playing a different team.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Exactly.
I'm totally with you. No double ups.
I was going to move on to another topic in a sec, but while we're on the fixture, and I've had my rants about this, about the AFLW and the lack of support and everything for the ladies there. Finally, we've got an AFLW fixture out. Fantastic. They've done the right thing and put the whole fixture out. 10 rounds. I know the ladies are very disappointed on that. What have we got? 18 teams in that competition as well. And, they still can't get a full, at least 17-game season. And I've been big on that. That needs to come a little bit more lined in the AFL season so they can actually get the extended, because don't really need the ladies playing in the middle of January and December as it is. So there's still plenty of issues with that. I know some of them I've heard is disappointed that I haven't probably got the big game, like maybe a game at Marvel like the Bombers and Hawks played last year, which was very successful. But I do like the idea that the suburban grounds, smaller grounds, pack it out, 80 to 100% capacity. The Bombers are playing at Windy Hill for the first time, which will be fantastic.
Playing us at Frankston?
Down at Frankston. That's going to be great. That's going to be packed. It's not too bad for me as well.
Still haven't played Melbourne at home, still haven't played Adelaide at home.
And these are
There's a couple of these random ones. But I think it just takes slowly.
I'm glad it's finally out and we're talking about the fixture, but just a little bit still disappointed with the AFL that we still haven't got some of these things that the ladies have been asking for a while. So
I think they've given some things, but they haven't been able to get everything.
Yeah.
Let's kind of address the points, right? 10 games. Okay, you're still semi-professional. If they were to say, okay, you missed 6 months of your career to get paid like $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. I don't know if a lot of women could like they could feasibly cover that with the travelling, all that other stuff. But just to go to stadium sizes as well, right? To hire out Marvel Stadium, yes, they own it, but to pay all the staff, to pay the memberships, to pay the ticketing, everything, it's really expensive. And until the AFLW becomes self-sufficient in their ticketing, I think at a lot of their grounds they're still not charging for tickets, right? So until that actually happens, there's a limitation on where you can play. Because you have to make the game sustainable. In other codes, women games
and that's why I was saying, bringing in, and then you could have the double headers with the AFL. But could they potentially do a double header game with the AFLW because they are shortened games, and you could have and Hawthorn, Richmond, Carlton,
and sponsorship. The problem is clubs are going to put up all their sponsorship everywhere. They're going to do all that kind of stuff. There's licensing issues. Hey, I'm showing a Richmond game and they've still got a Brisbane sponsor up there. That kind of stuff. I know when they do the VFL, they'll do the same teams. Or they have had a couple of games where twice at the MC they might have done it. Twice at Marvel, maybe a night time and another game for stadiums out. It takes a long time to go through the entire ground and change that. It's tough.
Well, but we've got the 18 teams. So hypothetically, in your example, Hawthorn would play Richmond in the AFLW at, say, 10:30 in the morning or 11.
Yep.
Pick a time. And then they get the hour and a half or hour that they need. And then at 1:45, the Hawks and Richmond go. So there's
different ways. And, there's different ways they can do it. And I still think if they're going to play at small venues, they could get a little bit more creative and maybe take the game a little bit more throughout Australia. I know, as you were saying, it's hard to maybe get the girls travelling if it's a 17-week season. But, if they're only going to do the 10 weeks anyway, there's chances to take the game more broader and to a bigger audience.
They got North Melbourne to go play at some winery down in the backyard.
Yeah, in an AFL men's house.
Come on, they can't move AFLW down there as well.
But why does the AFLW, I'll play the dick here, that's fine. Why does the AFLW need to be completed now? Why does it need to be 17 games? Why does it need to be this year? Can we not let it grow?
No, my problem was they should have not expanded to the 18 teams as early as it is. That was the problem. So if you're going to go to the 18 teams, then it should be because how can you have a competition unless they're going to what we were talking before, exactly with the men's. Unless you're going to go, okay, we might have a situation where it's 6-6-6, or that you can't have a competition where you don't play each other once, where there's no divisions they have like that.
You know why, though? It's so that everyone can steal all the Carlton's really good players, and then they get called traitors, and then they go to all these other clubs, right?
No, it's an interesting one with the AFLW because obviously you play 10 teams, so you could theoretically go 0-10, finish last, but those 10 are the top 10 teams.
Yep.
So it's unlikely, but you go back to the year when they had the two divisions where Carlton were the 7th best team, but because they were in the other division, they got to host a final against a much better team, win. And you go to grand final, you lose by 9 goals to Adelaide. I think that would have been a great time.
But I'm an NBA fan and an NFL fan, so that doesn't bother me as much as other people.
There are Carlton play North Melbourne at Arden Tree, which I've walked past it. There's no facilities there. You can't really. What are you going to do? You go there, you're going to get maybe 1,000, 2,000 people in, which AFLW, it's not for us now. Obviously, we've grown up with AFL. We're used to it. But it's for the future generations of girls and even younger women who want to watch the football and watch their heroes play. But until you get it to a point where you're playing it at the same time as the men, it doesn't even have to be the same length season. But as we said, there was no need to go to 18 teams. Because I know at the start, some clubs were just we're not interested, we don't want to do it. And they've obviously...
Sorry, go on.
Port Adelaide was another one. They were just... There wasn't enough talent then, and we're probably still 5, 6, 7 years away from having the amount of talent to have as many teams as we do. Because you watch some games and you're just I should just go to my local footy game.
Yeah.
Because you go to some local footy and it's really good, but you go to some local footy it's bad. But
But the other end of that sword is you look at the Matildas and their attendance, 75,000 at Stadium Australia. The girls in the cricket Australia have always been super, super strong. The reason why they had to run before they could walk is essentially they couldn't lose these generations of girls that want to play footy. And where the AFL is stuck now is, they ran. They need to figure out how to walk, but, as you probably see with kids, if you let kids run around for an hour and then you've got to walk home, they ain't exactly happy with that. Really?
The
And
thing,
that's
the
where
thing
they're
is, the thing you
stuck.
mentioned though, sorry, is like you're talking about national teams, and that's something the AFL can never do that because
Correct.
it's a single country game. Like I know we have the World Cup of football,
Yeah,
but
there
like
are
it's
pathways for those other sports,
Yeah.
though.
Exactly.
That's where, because we say, like pathways are going to get you talent.
yeah.
You can trade, you can pick any premiership team from any era. They picked up this player from this club, this player from this club.
Yeah.
But every premiership team drafted well.
Yes.
Because our pathways are so strong in the
Yeah.
sport. So if the AFL do lose their pathways to these national games in which our women are so good, we're 10th in the soccer, we're the number one cricket team in the world. I've argued our cricket girls at times have bettered our men.
Unquestionably.
Even during like peak versus peak,
Yeah, 100%.
they've matched, if not gone better. And that's why the AFL had to run. And again, the problem that they've got is they now can't retreat to a walk
No.
because understandably, that's not going to go down too well.
The other reason I brought it up, because that was it, because of the Matildas, because what the Aussie women are doing. And you've got a situation like in the cricket, they've released their fixture. They have like a women's match, for example, Adelaide versus Hobart, being played at the SCG. No one's going to turn up to that. But they're like, we want our girls to be the best chance to advance their career. We're going to put them in the best ground possible. And if 2 people rock up or 1,000 people rock up, we don't care because we want them with the best facilities.
Is there any modification between the women's cricket and the men's cricket like they have in the AFLW and the AFL?
Only really more the
Shorter
it's the shorter boundaries, which they do, lighter ball as well. And there's been talk about that because a lot of the women's grounds, they don't actually reduce. I'm surprised that, especially like I've seen games like over in Adelaide there, where bring the boundaries in. If there's a way that you could have kids or something set up behind the goals where they're all sitting there like the kids with the cheer squad, or different ways that I guess you can interact it and bring young girls closer to the action, because as you said, this is not a thing for now. It's the generational as we're going on.
It's going to take one player getting pushed into the boundary, knocking over.
But if there was enough gap or something like that, but you know what I mean.
F1 style, and then next week it's not happening anymore.
But
Mum in her 30s with purple hair sues Carlton football club for knocking out her daughter for sitting on the boundary line.
But
We know how to deal with lawsuits at the Carlton Football Club. We're
Very
fine.
well. Yeah, she's had to pay Carlton for the knee injury that's sustained when it knocked her temple.
they are, but there are in this interesting situation right now because obviously the Matildas, they have a really big opportunity here. The A League W, or was it the W League, to really promote and then take away some of these young followers to their game, and exactly with the Australian cricketers. So,
lucky it wasn't a West Coast game, otherwise she'd never get fixed.
That's
Well, like speaking of the AFL, just like
How long were you sitting on that? That's outstanding.
just speaking of the Matildas, like so obviously that game today in Melbourne, 12:30 on a Friday arvo. I know it's unusual, but like, what did the AFL be like? Why don't we just try a sneaky VFL game at Richmond at like 3:30? Just get people to come across. Like, or even
the Collingwood ground as well, which is next door.
ground as well. Or like
fantastic. 'Cause, and even if they could have done because obviously it's a women's World Cup, a women's marquee game or a practice match or something like that, and organise that. Because you've got all these young girls walking past. Oh, mummy, look, there's a women's footy game on. Can we stay and watch this for a little while?
Mummy, that's handball. You're not allowed to pick the ball up. What's going on here? What's this sport?
You're right there, Todd. It's a missed opportunity that frustrates me with the AFL.
No, but they did the right thing. They put on Williamstown and Essendon out at...
why Essendon are playing at the same time in the AFL?
the other option was, so you guys hosting St Kilda this weekend?
Yeah.
Like that could have been...
I don't know.
No, Saints home.
Oh,
No, Saints hosted.
Okay, like you could have had that. I know
I'm
it
sitting in
sounds
the St
unlikely,
Kilda
but you could have had it
members
on a Friday afternoon, like because people are already in the city. And I mean, the Essendon Bulldogs game was a sellout, so why didn't they move it to the MCG? Like they were talking about moving the Geelong sellout to Marvel of the MCG last week.